I never thought leaving my house keys on Mark's desk would change everything. When I came back for them, I overheard two secretaries whispering outside his office. They were talking about Mark and someone else. That moment shattered what I thought I knew about us. I'd been with Mark for over 3 years. We lived together in a small apartment downtown. Things felt normal most days. Lately, though, I noticed he worked late more often. His phone would buzz a lot with messages when I was around. I felt a distance growing between us, but I told myself it was just work stress. I didn't want to think otherwise. One night, I left my house keys on Mark's desk by accident. When I realized, I went back to get them. That was the moment everything started to fall apart. I realized I left my house keys on Mark's desk about halfway through my walk home. I was already halfway down the street when it hit me. I cursed softly and turned back, my hands starting to sweat. I didn't want to go back, but I had no choice. When I got to his office building, I felt my stomach twist. I wasn't used to being there alone. Mark usually picked me up, or I waited until after work. But this time, I went straight to his floor. I tried to keep calm as I walked down the hall, thinking I'd just grab the keys and leave. Near Mark's office, I saw 5 secretaries standing just outside the door. They weren't spread out or busy. They were clustered together, like they were waiting for something. 2 of them were leaning close, whispering. I stopped a few steps away, pretending to tie my shoe, even though I wasn't wearing shoes that were hard to tie. My heart was pounding, but I needed to hear what they were saying. One secretary's voice was low, but I caught the words. "Did you hear? Mark has been seeing someone else." The other secretary's eyes looked worried. "Poor Jackie, she has no idea." The words hit me like a punch. I wanted to tell myself I misheard, that it was some stupid office gossip, but it didn't feel like that. Their voices were too serious. My hands started to shake, and I felt cold all over. I stayed crouched for a few more seconds, hoping to catch anything else. But the whispering stopped. The secretaries glanced around nervously and then walked away down the hallway. I stayed where I was, frozen. I tried to make sense of what I heard. Mark seeing someone else. Those words spun in my head. I looked down at my feet, then at the office door. I thought about just knocking, asking him, but I couldn't. I didn't have the courage. The keys in my hand suddenly felt heavy and meaningless. I stood up slowly. My hands trembled as I held the keys. I didn't know what to do next. I felt everything inside me twisting. Anger, confusion, a kind of numbness. I wanted to run. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just turned around and walked away quietly. I didn't even remember to pick up my keys. I left them on the floor by the door, forgotten. My mind was racing, but I couldn't focus on anything except the words I'd overheard. I don't know how long I stood there after they left. The hallway felt empty and too quiet. I felt completely alone in that moment, standing just outside Mark's office, knowing my world had shifted. I thought maybe it was a mistake, maybe I'd misunderstood. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I walked out of the building without looking back. I didn't call Mark or text him. I just wanted to get home and think, but even that felt impossible. I kept replaying the secretary's words over and over. Mark has been seeing someone else. It was like a weight settling in my chest. I thought it was the end of something, but I didn't know what was coming next. I just knew nothing would be the same again. That evening, I waited until Mark got home. The apartment felt quieter than usual. When he walked in, I could tell he noticed something was off. I didn't waste time. I told him exactly what happened at his office, the part about the secretaries and the conversation I overheard. I tried to keep my voice steady, but it shook a little. "What's going on, Mark? Are you cheating on me?" I asked him, the words sounding harsher than I meant. He looked surprised, like he wasn't expecting me to say that. But he didn't look me in the eyes. His eyes went somewhere else in the room, and his hands fidgeted with the keys he was holding. "It's not what you think, Jackie," he said, and his voice didn't sound very convincing. "There's nothing going on." I wanted to believe him, but I couldn't. So I pressed him. "Then why were those secretaries talking about you seeing someone else?" I said, trying to keep calm, but my chest tightened. "Why would they say that if it's not true?" He hesitated for a moment, then shifted uncomfortably on his feet. "They're just office gossips," he said finally, as if that explained everything. "You know how they are. They like to make up stories." I stayed quiet for a moment, watching him. The way he avoided my eyes made me feel even worse. I wanted to ask more, but the words got stuck. Instead, I just nodded slowly. The silence between us got heavier. I could feel the tension in the room like a weight pressing down. I wasn't sure if he was lying or if it was just a misunderstanding. But the seed of doubt was planted deep. I kept thinking about those words I heard. I kept hearing them over and over in my mind. Mark has been seeing someone else. He didn't say anything else after that. Just looked down at the floor. I didn't want to push too hard and start a fight, but I also couldn't ignore what I'd heard. I felt like I was standing on a thin line, not knowing which way I'd fall. After a few minutes, I told him I needed some time to think. I grabbed my phone and went to the other room. I sat down and stared at the screen, feeling numb. I kept replaying the scene in my head. The secretaries, their whispers, the look on Mark's face just now. I thought maybe I was overreacting, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what yet. The night dragged on, and Mark stayed mostly quiet. I could tell he was uncomfortable, but I couldn't tell if it was guilt or frustration. I tried to focus on anything else, work emails, the TV, but my mind kept circling back. I realized I couldn't just let it go. I had to find out the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I thought it was over, but the silence that followed said otherwise. The next day, I told myself I needed to know the truth. I couldn't let the whispers from yesterday just hang in the air. So, I decided to go back to Mark's office during his lunch break. Maybe if I talked to the secretaries directly, I could get some answers. I wasn't sure what I was expecting, but I knew I couldn't just sit and wonder anymore. When I got there, I saw Emma from the day before. She was standing alone near the reception desk, scrolling through her phone. My heart was pounding, but I forced myself to walk up to her. I kept my voice steady, trying to sound casual, but I could feel the tension in my throat. "Hey, Emma," I said. "Can you tell me what you know about Mark's relationship?" She looked up at me, and I saw something in her eyes, a mix of guilt and hesitation. She didn't say anything at first. I waited, not really knowing if she was going to shut me down or tell me the truth. After a few seconds that felt like forever, she finally spoke. "It's Anna," she said quietly. "Your sister. They've been seeing each other for almost a year now." I blinked, not sure I heard her right. "My sister," I whispered, my voice barely audible. Emma nodded, looking down at her shoes. "I'm so sorry, Jackie. I thought you already knew. I didn't want to be the one to tell you, but it's been going on for a while." I felt like the floor was slipping out from under me. The words hit me like a wave, and I had to lean against the wall to keep from falling. My mind was spinning, trying to make sense of what she'd just said. Mark and Anna, my sister, together, for almost a year. I wanted to ask her more, to understand how, why, but my throat was tight, and everything felt numb. I managed to say, "Why didn't they tell me? Why keep it a secret?" Emma shrugged, but she didn't meet my eyes. "I don't know. Maybe because they knew how much it would hurt you." The betrayal was crushing, but I couldn't let myself break down here. "Not now." I took a shaky breath and whispered again. "Thank you for telling me." I turned and walked away, my legs heavy as if they were filled with lead. My keys, the office, the whole place seemed to blur around me. I stumbled out of the building, my mind racing and heart pounding. The world felt upside down. I kept repeating the words in my head. Mark and Anna. My sister. Almost a year. It didn't add up. How had I missed all the signs? The late nights, the distance, the secretive texts. It all made sense now, but it hurt worse than I thought possible. I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But instead, I just kept walking, my steps echoing in the empty streets. I thought it was over, but the silence that followed said otherwise. I got home and just started pacing the living room. My mind was spinning in circles, but I couldn't stop moving. I kept thinking about what Emma said, the part about Mark and Anna, my sister. It felt like everything was crashing down all at once. The apartment felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath waiting for me to break. I didn't know where to go with all this, so I grabbed my phone and called Lucy. When she picked up, I could barely get the words out. My voice was shaking, and I could hear myself start to cry. "Lucy, it's Anna," I said, trying to keep it together. "How could they do this to me?" I sobbed. I told her everything. The secretaries, the whispered conversation, and then Emma's confession that Mark had been seeing Anna for almost a year. Lucy was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Jackie, I'm so sorry. That's awful." She sounded shocked, but also like she was trying to hold me steady. I needed that. I felt like I was falling apart. Lucy told me to breathe and reminded me she was there. Then she said something I wasn't sure I was ready to hear, but needed to. "You have to confront them, Jackie. Both of them. You deserve to know the truth straight from them." It was hard to imagine facing Anna, my sister, like that. But Lucy's words made sense. I couldn't just sit here and wonder. I had to do something. I wiped my tears as best as I could and told Lucy I'd try to get some answers, even if it hurt. After we hung up, I sat on the couch and stared at my phone for a long time. I wasn't too sure if I should call Anna or try to find another way. Finally, I decided to leave her a voicemail. I couldn't say everything I felt. My voice sounded tight and small when I spoke. Anna, it's Jackie. I need to talk to you. Please call me back or meet me later today. We need to clear this up. I didn't know if she'd even listen or answer. Part of me wanted to scream at her, but I held back. I just wanted to know why. Why she had done this to me. Why Mark had betrayed me like this. The silence after I left the voicemail was heavy. I kept checking my phone, hoping for a reply, but nothing came. I tried to keep busy, but every little sound made me jump. My thoughts kept drifting back to Anna and Mark, and I felt a mix of anger, sadness, and disbelief. I thought about all the times I trusted them, the plans we made, and how close Anna and I used to be. Now everything felt like a lie. I paced some more, then sat down again, rubbing my hands over my face. I didn't know what the next step was, but I knew I couldn't ignore it. Lucy's voice in my head told me I had to face them, no matter how painful. I wasn't ready to forgive or understand, but I needed the truth. The day stretched on with no word from Anna. I wasn't sure if I wanted to hear from her or not. I just knew that whatever happened next, nothing would be the same again. I thought it was over, but the silence that followed said otherwise. I sat down at my laptop, my hands trembling a little, but I knew I had to see for myself. I had access to Mark's email and phone since we shared passwords for convenience. It felt wrong going through his messages, but after what Emma said, I didn't trust anything anymore. I opened his email first, scrolling slowly. The subject lines caught my eye immediately. Dinner plans, weekend getaway, need to talk. My heart sank deeper with every new message. The emails were between Mark and Anna. They weren't just casual work stuff or family talk. There were plans to meet up, little notes about when they'd see each other next, and things like, can't wait to see you, and I miss you already. I reread some messages just to make sure I wasn't imagining it. The tone was too intimate. It wasn't just a sister and brother-in-law kind of thing. It was something else entirely. Then I checked Mark's text conversations. I found a string of messages from the last few months between him and Anna. They were texting every day, sometimes late into the night. I saw them arguing over small things, apologizing, and talking about secret places where they could meet. One message said, "The hotel by the river, June 15th, our anniversary, but no one can know." That hit me hard. June 15th was our anniversary. The hotel was the same one where I found that receipt a few days ago. It was all connected. Reading those texts, I felt like I was sinking. Each message made me feel smaller, like I didn't even know the people I lived with. The betrayal wasn't just real, it was ongoing. Anna and Mark had been planning this behind my back for months, maybe longer. I kept scrolling, and the messages kept coming, filled with love notes and secret apologies. It was so obvious now why Mark had been distant and why Anna had been avoiding me lately. I printed everything out, page after page. The emails, the text messages, the plans, the apologies, the lies, everything. Holding that stack of papers in my hands, I felt a strange mix of anger and numbness. This wasn't just about Mark anymore. My sister was part of this. They had both been hiding it from me for almost a year. Almost a year of pretending, lying, and sneaking around. I thought about what I was going to say to them when I confronted them. I wanted to be calm, but the paper in my hands felt like a rope tightening around my chest. I wasn't sure if I was angry enough or just exhausted. I sat back and looked at the stack for a long time, then put it down next to my laptop. The weight of it all was real now, heavier than any silence I'd felt before. I wasn't ready to call Anna yet. Not until I told Mark I knew. Not until I had the proof in my hands. But I also knew I couldn't keep pretending. This was going to change everything. I thought it was over. But the silence that followed said otherwise. That evening, I met Anna at a small cafe a few blocks from our apartment. The place was quiet, nothing like the chaos I felt inside. I sat down across from her and pulled the printed messages from my bag. Sliding them across the table, I watched her face closely. She looked down at the papers without saying a word. The tension between us was thick, like you could cut it with a knife. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. "How long, Anna? How long have you been seeing him?" She didn't meet my eyes at first. Her hands trembled as she picked up one of the pages. After a long pause, she finally looked at me, guilt and shame written all over her face. Almost a year, Jackie, she said quietly. It just happened. I never meant for it to go this far. I'm so sorry. I felt like everything inside me broke at once. My heart was pounding, my chest tight. I wanted to scream, but I forced myself to stay calm, at least on the outside. Almost a year, I repeated, my voice barely above a whisper. You and Mark. My own sister. How could you do this to me? Anna's eyes filled with tears. I don't know. It just happened. I wanted to tell you so many times, but I was scared. I never wanted to hurt you. I shook my head, the anger rising fast now. You didn't just hurt me. You betrayed me. Both of you. I trusted you. I stood up, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. Everyone in the cafe glanced our way. I didn't care. You're both out of my life. I can't believe you would do this to me. My voice cracked, but I kept going. I don't want to see either of you again. Anna reached out as if to say something else, but I stepped back and shook my head. I gathered my things and walked out before she could say another word. Outside, the cool air hit my face, but it didn't clear the storm inside me. I stood on the sidewalk, breathing hard, trying to make sense of what just happened. The betrayal wasn't just in the messages or the secrets. It was in how close it had become, how long it had lasted without me knowing. I thought about all the times we'd shared as sisters. The late-night talks, the family dinners, the plans we made. And now, all of that felt like a lie. I didn't know where to go next. Part of me wanted to scream, cry, or just disappear. But another part, the part holding on, told me to stay strong. I had already faced some of the worst truths. This was another one. I turned and walked away from the cafe, the printed messages burning in my bag. The silence between Anna and me was broken, but the quiet that followed felt heavier than any words could be. I got back to our apartment later that evening. The door was slightly open, which didn't feel right. Mark was sitting on the couch, staring at the floor. When he looked up and saw me, his face changed. I held up the stack of printed messages without saying a word. They slipped from my fingers and scattered on the floor between us. His eyes flicked to the papers, then back to me. My voice was shaking, but I forced the words out. It's over, Mark. I know everything. I took a breath, trying to steady myself. You and Anna. I can't believe you betrayed me like this. Mark's shoulders sagged. He looked defeated, like all his words got stuck somewhere inside him. He opened his mouth to say something, then closed it again. Jackie, please. It's not what you think, he finally said, but the words felt empty. I shook my head and stepped back. Not what I think. Mark, I have your emails, your texts. You made plans with Anna, told her things you never told me. How am I supposed to believe you now? He looked away, running his hands through his hair. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just did. I'm sorry, he said quietly. The apology didn't reach me. All I felt was this cold weight in my chest. I swallowed hard, trying not to break down. I want you out of our apartment by the end of the week, I said firmly. I can't live with you here. Mark's face went pale. Jackie, please, can we talk about this? Work through it. His voice cracked. I shook my head again, tired of hearing excuses. No, I need space. I'm staying with Lucy for now. I grabbed my coat from the chair and started walking toward the door. Mark stood up quickly. Jackie, wait. I didn't turn around. I just opened the door and left. As I closed it behind me, I heard the faint click of the lock. The silence that followed said everything. On the walk to Lucy's, I kept thinking about how long it took us to get here. 3 years of pretending everything was fine, and then this. It felt like all the moments we shared were just a lie. When I got to Lucy's, she hugged me without saying a word. I just let myself cry there, finally letting some of the pain out. But even with her support, I knew this was only the beginning. I kept picturing those messages on the floor back at the apartment. Every word felt like a cut, but I also felt something underneath it all, a quiet determination not to let this break me completely. I thought it was over, but the silence that followed said otherwise. It's been about a month since I moved out of the apartment Mark and I shared downtown. I found a small place closer to work, something that feels more like mine. I wanted to put some distance between myself and everything that reminded me of him and Anna. I haven't spoken to either of them since that night I threw the messages at Mark. No calls, no texts. I blocked them both. The new apartment is quiet, way quieter than before. I like that. I've been spending a lot of time just sitting on the balcony, watching the city go by without feeling trapped inside it. It feels strange sometimes, like I'm still waiting for something to happen, some kind of fallout or apology, but it hasn't. There's just silence. That silence is both a relief and a reminder of what I lost. I still think about the betrayal a lot. It doesn't hit me all at once anymore, but it's always there, like a dull ache. Some days it's sharper. When I see a message pop up on my phone, I pause before checking, half expecting it to be Mark or Anna. But it never is. I've deleted their numbers, but my mind keeps them stored in some corner I can't reach. I know they don't deserve that space anymore, but it's hard to let go completely. I've been focusing on rebuilding my life, piece by piece. At work, I'm more focused than ever. I throw myself into projects, trying to keep my mind busy. It helps, but I can't pretend it erases everything. I've also started reconnecting with old friends I'd lost touch with over the years. Lucy has been a rock through all of this. She checks in regularly, makes sure I'm not isolating myself. I'm grateful for that, even when I don't always feel like talking. There's a part of me that's stronger now, though. I can see that. I'm learning to trust myself again. After everything, I'm the one who packed up and walked away. I didn't wait for Mark or Anna to make things right. I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive them, but I'm starting to forgive myself for staying as long as I did. Sometimes, I catch myself thinking about the future. I don't want to be defined by what happened with Mark and Anna. I want to move forward without that weight on my shoulders. It's hard, because the memories are still fresh, just a month out, and it feels like yesterday sometimes. But I'm working on making new memories in this new place, with people who actually care. I've been going to therapy, which helps more than I expected. It's where I can say the things I don't want to say to anyone else. The pain is still there, but it's quieter now. I'm learning how to live with it without letting it control me. Some days are better than others, but I'm moving forward. I don't know what the future holds exactly, but I feel more in control of it than I did before. I'm focusing on things that bring me peace, reading, walking around the neighborhood, even cooking more. Small things, but they help me feel like I'm building something new, something just for me. Mark and Anna aren't part of that future. I don't want to hear from them, and I don't want to think about them more than I have to. It's still painful, but it's not breaking me anymore. I'm not the same person who found that hotel receipt on Mark's desk or who listened to those secretaries talking. I'm someone who's learning to live again, even if it's one quiet, steady step at a time. I thought the hardest part would be walking away, but the hardest part is figuring out how to live after walking away. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there, and that means something. It's been a few weeks since I started going to therapy. At first, I wasn't sure it would help, but talking things out has made a difference. I'm still working through the betrayal from Mark and Anna. Some days are harder than others, but I'm learning to face it instead of shutting down. I've also started picking up new hobbies, painting mostly. It's something quiet, something that lets me focus on myself instead of the mess they left behind. I reconnected with some old friends too. Having people who actually care around me feels like a small lifeline. The pain from what Mark and Anna did still lingers, no doubt. But I'm getting better at trusting my gut again. I don't want to settle for anything less than being genuinely respected and valued. That feels like a new kind of strength I didn't have before. I'm determined to build a future where I'm surrounded by people who deserve me. I'm not rushing anything, but I'm finally thinking about what makes me happy, not what others expect. It's quiet progress, but it's mine. I don't know how long it'll take to fully heal, but I know now that I deserve honesty and respect. I'm learning that my own happiness has to come first, no matter what. If you ever feel like something's off in your relationship, don't ignore that feeling. I wish I had trusted mine sooner instead of brushing it off as stress or work pressure. It's hard, but you have to find the courage to look for the truth, even if it hurts. Surround yourself with people who actually support you. Like my friend Lucy was there for me when I needed to talk and cry. That kind of support makes a difference when everything feels like it's falling apart. Remember, your worth doesn't come from someone else's actions. Mark and Anna's betrayal didn't define me, even though it felt like it at first. It took time, therapy, and a lot of hard days, but I started to see that I'm more than what they did. You can rebuild yourself, piece by piece. It might not happen overnight, but it's possible. Never settle for less than you deserve, whether that's respect, honesty, or kindness. If you feel like you're not getting that, it's okay to walk away. Protect your own well-being first. I know it's scary, but trusting yourself is the first step towards something better. You don't owe anyone your happiness, especially not someone who breaks your trust. Keep that in mind, and take care of you.